Voice controls here.
Nope, I got it. We're good.
How do I get to the microphone or to the volume controls in case somebody at the podium needs to be louder?
It's all the way up.
Go back to exit page.
Perfect. That's
And
what I
then-
need.
and
Yeah,
go to
room
mic.
volume will be
Room volume and mics. Mics also.
awesome. All right, we will call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Thank you, everybody, for coming. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Arvid and a second by Neil to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Carries. Item 3. So we have a consent agenda that's got several items on it, including minutes from our regular meeting, licenses and permits, board, committee, commission, and agency reports, vouchers payable, and a budget summary. Everybody have a chance to take a look at that? If they have, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, thanks, Ron.
I'll second that.
All right, a motion by Ron, second by Van to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Carries. All right, item 4, public input and ideas, limit 5 minutes per speaker. Floor is open if anybody would like to speak. Everybody wants to talk at you today, Van.
Apparently.
All right, seeing that there's nobody to speak in public input, we will close the public input section and move to item 5, reports. 5A1, building inspection and administration staff reports.
I'm usually not first. The building permits were kind of low last month, just some replacements, some roof replacements. I'm making sure I'm not missing anything here. So far, permit distribution, and 4 new homes, so we are growing still. So we have great news on that. There are some potential for growth now that we'll talk about tonight with the R3 zone that we're talking about that has potential to increase more housing within the community too. So housing has been one issue that we're really pushing for in the last year. So we're hoping to have some more news on that in the upcoming months. Administration, today the auditors were on site prepping for our audit. They promised us that we'll get it before we did last year. So keep in mind, we have new auditors. So the process, the upfront process has been slower because we're changing over some of the processes. But they want to make sure we get this audit before mid-year. That is their goal. So we're not approving our audit in November like last year. We were approving it in the summer, and hopefully next year that process is expedited because we're used to the new auditors. Staff-wise, since we last met, Tanya had a training for her clerk treasurer, deputy clerk treasurer training. She's currently working from home this week. Other issues, Carrie, anything else that we're really working on? The heavy packet that we have in front of you. One thing I'm doing is looking at some potential ordinances that should change to make it get our village more up the ability to change some housing things, such as our secondary structure right now, the maximum size is only 400 square feet, regardless of lot size. So some of the new things that are coming in housing would be the mother-in-law suite, which would be rooms above garages and that kind of item. See if we can make that minimum size bigger to allow some of these ideas to fruition. Some of the things we're looking at would possibly be then tied to the size of the lot. Like you still need X number percentage of green space, but that's something that I brought up to Angela and we're hoping to work for that this summer. So really trying to be creative in ways that we can help some assist with some lower home options instead of just market rate apartment complexes.
And I think that there's probably already been a fair amount of accessory structure dwellings on lots already. And so it just gives us an opportunity to potentially capture some additional tax revenue too. So.
And we've given variances for that, and variances should be hard to receive. So if we're giving variances for it, we should be looking at change in the ordinance.
I think that that's great. And I know at family friendly workplaces, we've talked about housing and the importance of making sure that your zoning codes are reasonable. So I think I applaud that effort. I'm excited to see what we can do to make sure that we've got a regulatory structure that makes sense for the village and can support housing development.
That's why we made some of the changes we made 2 summers ago, was to encourage growth
Mhm.
and building. So,
I think it's good to keep moving in that direction.
and there's more on the agenda for tonight.
Oh, and also I want to remind the board that in June, I will be out for possibly 2 weeks and working remotely most of June. So just a heads up that I will be attending meetings in person, but for the majority of the month, I will be working from home and going back and forth between the two, between my office and home.
Understandable. Do you have anything else for Devin? Okay, great. All right, moving on. Police.
Hello.
EJ?
Well,
Are you into
the
this?
summer's here, we're getting a lot more increase in call volume. April of this year, we generated 343 calls of service and filed 62 incident traffic crash reports.
The mic on up there?
Oh,
Perfect, thank
Still
you.
working now?
Yes.
We made 5 arrests, including 1 emergency hold. We initiated 61 traffic stops and issued 33 municipal citations. Under our agreement with St. Croix Falls, we had them come down 14 times and effect 1 arrest under our agreement. They even transported a patient for the emergency detention down to Winnebago for us. That's the second time this has happened. And the agreement has been awesome with that because we get an officer that's 8 hours into a 12-hour shift. They pick up a emergency detention patient that needs to be placed. It's several hours of waiting time in the hospital. And then from there, it's a 5-hour trip to Winnebago plus coming back. And that can make for a 24-hour day, which is really unsafe and really detrimental to the officers as far as burnout and stuff goes. So having that option is excellent and saved our bacon a couple times. Otherwise, some kind of more incidents of note. Our water tower got hit again early on in April. Someone managed to climb the fence and then the ladder up there and tag it. So we're currently looking into that to see if we can establish any other patterns in the area. We've had a couple of crime alerts that have had different types of graffiti, but if we recognize one that pops up, usually we can try to follow up and link with those particular crimes. Officer Rebin and Officer Tremblay, they participated in the training with St. Croix Falls regarding bleeding control, which was pretty beneficial. We got another one scheduled for tomorrow for vehicle contacts. We're investigating 3 separate incidents where methamphetamine was located in public areas, either inadvertently dropped or abandoned. So, which is really odd because usually people don't drop their drugs out there, but just kind of a weird situation where we've had 3 similar calls of that nature. So we executed a search warrant inside the village for a child abuse case that we're working on. During that time, we recovered several pieces of evidence as well as miscellaneous drugs and paraphernalia. Turned out to be a pretty good warrant. Otherwise, we got approval to participate in the Narcan law enforcement program again for another year. So this is a grant-funded initiative that's put on by the state. It's 100% paid, and the program essentially just allows us to take cases of Narcan, whatever we need, and we can leave it on scene, kind of left behind. Allows our officers to always have Narcan for whenever we respond to an overdose call, and we don't have to pay for it. So. Otherwise, Officer Rebin completed the handgun and rifle instructor course. That's a 7-day course that's put on through the state of Wisconsin Department of Justice to allow him to become a certified firearms instructor, which helps me out because whenever we put on our shoots, it's always good to have a second instructor there to kind of keep eyes on the range, safety and whatnot, as well as more ideas and input that can benefit our team. So Then to wrap that up, we had Officer Tremblay represent Osceola at the Connect for Kids event at the Osceola Elementary School, which turned out to be a pretty good success. So, any questions all for me?
Yeah, I just got a couple.
Yeah.
On the transport to Winnebago, worked out great. You were able to do that. Was St. Croix called in for that? Or how did that
So
transpire?
I think this latest incident, St. Croix Falls was on and was aware of the incident, and they worked with Osceola to kind of find another person to do the transport.
Okay,
So I don't recall if it was the day car that was coming on to St. Croix Falls or if it was a part-timer they called out, but they did bring in another officer to fill that in. So,
and that's a good move.
yeah, no, I've had a couple of calls like that where,
Yeah.
you know, it's midnight and, you know, there's 2 hours left of their shift and it's like, hey, what do you want me to do here? And it's, it can be challenging to fill
Yeah. That's right.
that shift. So
And
it's,
yeah, it's the trip there and trip back and how many hours you push it,
mhm.
you know,
And I mean, trip alone, I mean, you know, it's a long trip, but when you're past that 12-hour threshold,
exactly.
you know, and you're caring for someone in your custody, it can get to a point where it's dangerous.
Right.
And this mitigates that. So,
Yep. And is there anything else you have in mind for the water tower situation? Is there more that can be done? I don't, you don't have to get into the security details, but have you got something up your sleeve possibly for
yeah, we're
this?
looking into a couple different options. Right now, I'm trying to find a good program using AI to
Yep.
see if I can maybe throw that image
Oh,
into there and see if it can come up with different social media profile or you know, other images. But it's that in and of itself is becoming kind of challenging. So
yeah. I just worry about the, you know, the Homeland Security side of it,
oh, absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
so we're kind of on the same page there. There
Yeah,
might be
and,
some avenues
No, I was
there.
assured by the Public Works Department that nothing appeared to be tampered
Yeah.
with or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not fun having someone climb that and
No,
be that
not
close
at
to
all. It's just
an asset of ours. So
risk. That's all I got. Thanks a lot.
anyone else? Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Andy.
All right, speaking of Public Works. Public Works.
Evening, everyone.
Hi.
It's a busy April. We're certainly shiny for this time of year, though. Thankfully, because of the light winter. As I mentioned in the memo here, we were able to get 30,000 pounds of hot asphalt out, 15 ton. Unfortunately, the plant ran out. Actually, I'd like to think that we were played a large role in that. The plant ran out on April 26th, but we were 99% complete. So we just have one more road to complete. We do have some bigger patches to work on throughout the summer. And the next closest plant being Eau Claire, certainly networked with other communities to see if they had any extra for us to disperse as well. But that was completed in April, along with our biannual, twice annual program for the residents. We pick up leaves curbsides. A total of 5 single axle dump trucks were collected. Brush tripping occurred last week. Sweeping of all the village streets, we put well over 100 miles on in the month of April. All of our village streets were completed along with Dressier Municipality. We were able to get them done too. So the 28-year-old sweeper is still ticking and we're managing to keep it together. And it's doing a fine job at this time. Downtown beautification, we did a massive downtown cleanup to ensure we're ready for summer. Plow damage areas fixed. I guess you can see is one of our pictures here that UTV purchased from last year. Because of its lightweight footprint, we were able to access private property, not do any damage, remove the tree from causing further blockage and backing up of our grade. And we were able to cut it up and haul it all out with minimal impact. So excellent tool. Working with WisDOT now on a variety of permits, as I mentioned, trying to get that sorted out. I think they have a new Northwest District assigned supervisor, so every time they seem to get one, seem to get sort of pummeled with potential past and future permitting, so we'll go down that road again. Complete summer conversion of equipment was conducted. 9 of our assets are ready to go, whether they be in storage at our facility or in our other spaces. From the park side, cleaning the village parks began in April. Mowing operations have begun, we're in full swing. The Mill Pond irrigation has been turned on. Drinking water accessibility is available at that site as well as at the Oki Park site, along with them restrooms being open too. On top of that, we removed an alien 60-foot linden from Showbird Park. It's about a 3-day effort. Unfortunately, we just kind of finished chipping it today. The cleanup is robust. On the building side, just the continued vandalism to public buildings and spaces, including our revitalized bathrooms again. I was able to receive a quote today from a local company that can provide us with the potential for digital locks. So we hope that we can move in that direction with Avenue Finance and your guys' approval. If we can find that funding, it came in much lower than I expected. There is an annual rate, sort of like the flock cameras. But outside of that, it's app controlled, excellent tool. And I think it'd be good at this point in time. It is a 15-day quote, so it just came in late today. So I look forward to speaking to Devin about it, and then going up the chain of command. Maybe any questions?
No.
One thing at a streets level, in the end of June, there will be an open house for the 243 bridge. We can share that date once I receive it and put it on our website for an open house for the visual quality of the 243 bridge. We just had that meeting yesterday morning, so more information to follow on that.
I'm still targeting 28.
That's still the time frame. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
All right. Utilities.
Good evening, everybody.
All right.
Hello.
So long list here, but we'll move through quickly. That CCR that's attached to your report, or the report there will be likely in the paper next week. That's a requirement from the state that we get that out there annually. Flushing, we're going to actually switch next week to the low zone, citing some quality concerns that we started getting. So we're gonna kind of change gears on that one, but we need enough time to get enough notification out there for the residents. Just wanted to highlight just mapping and taking that a step further when we were working on that custom fire water main. Some of that we have to locate so that excavators don't hit it. Nobody actually knew where that water main was. It was put in 1971, and we found an old print that showed a valve on it. So we hooked our line locator up and were able to trace it and find a unknown valve. So this valve was probably buried sometime in the 70s or 80s. Nobody knew it was there. Well, lo and behold, we ended up needing that exact valve because when that rock hit that water main and broke it, we went right to that valve. It was 10 minutes. I mean, it was, we hit the water main. Oh, okay. We went up, shut the valve. It was off. It was done. And had we not done something like that and found that valve, it would have been a real mess, having a 10-inch water main, a 12-inch water main, just spraying until you can find the valve to shut it off. Been there. We don't want to be there. So that kind of highlights that program and sums it up in a nutshell there. So the generator, as we're working on that, we found that the fuel pump was also leaking on it, pretty minor, still run, no real issue with it, but we were able to order parts for it, and we'll be repairing that in the next few weeks here. That's an old, it's a vintage, I refer to it as a vintage unit, I think, and it's from the 80s, the early 80s. And I don't know if you're familiar with a Chrysler Slant 6. They put them in Chryslers for years and years and years. So parts are widely available for the engine, at least. But it's in generally good condition, and we like to keep it that way. we're constantly up there, starting and making sure it's got good fueling and making sure it's going. So when we need it, it works. And these things
How often is it tested?
monthly.
Okay.
We're actually required to test it monthly under state standards. So minimum monthly, but
Chrysler thanks you.
that's a Chrysler. We got to make sure it works.
All the time.
They no longer thank you.
What's that?
I said they no longer thank you.
It's a huge reporting one for us too. I don't know that the state always makes their reports due in the nice weather where they can make them due, and they don't open them, so you can't really work on them in the colder weather. So we'll be moving on from the permit application that we've been working on, the lead and copper that we've been working on, the CCR that we've been working on to now the CMAR. They also like acronyms. The CMAR, which is Compliance Maintenance Annual Report, which just opened up the other day. So, and that's due at the end of June here. So, any questions on our report?
That water main,
Yes,
that had to be moved, right?
that did have to be moved. Yep.
And that was on us.
No, it was on them.
Was it on them?
Yeah, they were encroaching on our easement. We required them to move it. We don't want a building on top of water main. It doesn't. And
No, it's not a good deal. So there was a road up there that was going to be put in, or a driveway or something like that off?
Sure. Yep.
So did you have that done already, or is that something you're going to
The
do?
driveway's been moved.
Okay.
Because we've all remodeled our houses, right? We've all
Yep.
opened up building permits and things, and the building inspector comes and they say,
Yep.
"Hey, because you're opening this, you have to do this," right?
Sure.
And so there were some other requirements that they had to meet with fire hydrant distance and things between the two, and so it kind of turned into a larger project than maybe they anticipated. But it kind of is what it is when you get into water main and moving quite big water main.
That was a big one.
It wasn't too long, and there wasn't too many services. There was only about a block, maybe 400.
Yeah.
Angela, not to call you out, about 400 feet. Yeah, about 400 feet. So not a huge project, but labor intensive nonetheless.
Yeah.
We have to be there to inspect and make sure that everything is marked and located properly. And I don't know if my pictures showed up on the.
Yeah.
They were
we're
blurry,
looking
but
at
They're
it.
blurry.
Yeah, they're blurry, but they're on there.
Oh.
Try something new.
What?
You can see Ryan down in there.
Yeah, that's a big
located
valve.
with our Trimble R2. That's the hot tap, and then behind that's the valve on the lead for the hydrant. So geolocating that so we know where it is in the future.
I've got a digital camera from 2006 that should
They showed up just fine on mine.
help you out with this.
What happened? I was like, come on, man. It's like this is
They're a little
this is so
bit behind.
cool. Yeah. Anyway.
But that slant six is doing the job.
So I think the other one was 1,300 gallons a minute out of a fire hydrant. I mean, that's like normal flow
Yeah.
for us, but I kind of wanted to show people what that looked like. Can't see it, whatever, fine.
I appreciate you being responsive to concerns with high side, low side flushing and being reactive to that. That's nice.
Absolutely. We take those really, really serious. And if there's something we can do, we always take that step to do it. So
Yeah, I mean, and as annoying as it might be sometimes to
no.
read complaints that come in for that kind of stuff, it is helpful to know that we have a member of the staff
And
that
people
will be
really
receptive to
realize
that.
Oh,
So I
absolutely.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, it's what we do. Water's what we do.
I
Yeah,
think
we don't
people
want it
feel
to come out-
validated when they can communicate that
absolutely.
and actually get
Yeah.
attention.
Yes.
Absolutely. We have a general policy within, we generally try to call people back on a water quality concern and at least acknowledge it. We might not have any answers for them, but we at least acknowledge it, within a couple of hours usually. So.
Cool, thank you.
Say, Rick, I seem to recall you addressing the fencing around that water tower at a meeting.
We
Is
did.
that,
We did, and we repaired the fencing around the water tower.
and yet it's still being breached?
Yes.
That's what we're, really.
I don't know if I want to get into the security concerns.
You don't have to.
I also don't really want to, I've got some things on my sleeve and I don't want to lay my cards on the table.
Right.
Sure.
But yeah, we did, the last time that the water tower was actually broken into, I call it broken into, but they didn't actually break anything. We repaired the fence around it. It had been taken down somewhere in the 80s and put back up, and it was all falling down. I mean, if you go up there, that fence is in perfect working order with barbed wire on the top, all proper. how they got out over it. You know, if you're willing to climb a water tower, I don't know if that fence is gonna keep you out. You know, we put a bunch of anti-climb stuff around the ladder. There's, nothing was out of place, I should say. So,
110 volt isn't gonna do anything.
what's that?
110 volt isn't gonna do anything.
I've heard that suggestion quite a few times.
We have an ordinance against that, by the way, for the public's knowledge.
That's about-
No electric fence. But, yeah, well, you and Andy can handle it and.
Yep.
It's just the way it is.
It's-
That's today's society, so.
Yes, it's an uphill battle on that one.
Throw the book at him.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
If we can catch them, hopefully that at least we have that flock camera system in place.
Yeah,
We have somewhere to start on.
yeah.
I can't personally read graffiti.
I can't
To see
either.
what it said, we just, it was kind of, I don't want to make light of it, but it was, nobody really noticed when it happened. Yeah, it looked like, the writing looked like somebody had coiled cables up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't think anybody noticed until we actually wiped it off. We kind of smeared it around, and I'm like, we don't want to leave it up,
That don't-
obviously, but
That doesn't sound like anything too advanced.
no, but yeah, so that whole process has been documented. It's been submitted to insurance. It's been, it's a
Yeah.
whole thing. It's a whole to do. But yeah, we're working on a couple more things. But at the end of the day, I think that what they say is the locks keep the honest out. I think.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You're right.
So
Criminals be criminaling, yo.
that's right. That's right. Criminals be
They
criminals.
don't know any different.
Crime doesn't sleep. We can keep this going, but you guys got a 300-page packet to get through, so I'll let you go.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have,
Since Chrysler,
I know.
we're so out
We're
of it.
26 minutes in.
We have,
We're gonna get loopy by about 7:30.
Nothing if it's not entertaining. It's gonna be a long one. Might as well enjoy it.
Any other questions on the report?
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Appreciate it. All right, Ann, that might be a tough act to follow, but
I don't know.
come on down. You're the next one up.
Good evening and welcome to our new trustees. Thank you for joining our board. So in April, I finished the basic library admin class, which is the first of 4 classes that I need for my grade 2 library certification. I continue to make connections with fellow library directors by attending the weekly Polk County Directors Zoom when I'm able. They're a really helpful and supportive group, and the connection with one another is especially important as we work towards updating the Polk County Plan of Library Service for 2025 to 2029. So in April, 4,542 items were checked out. And Van, you'll note that public computer uses were up from last month at 141. We had 1,384 ebook checkouts, and there were 27 new patrons. We added 137 new items to our collection in April. I've been watching the increase in the usage of Easy Reader books since we added a new shelving unit just for those items. So I was curious to see how it compared with the circulation of those books from last year. So in January through April of 2023, 492 Easy Reader books were circulated compared to 684 during the same time period this year. That's a very encouraging trend, and so I'm looking for new ways to display other collections in our library to make them more appealing for our patrons for checkouts. April is a busy month for events at the library. Storytime and Lego Club continue to draw families into the library. Get Lit, our sci-fi fantasy book discussion group led by Jen Lehman, meets at the Cascade Bar and Grill and continues to be another way for people to find out about the library in a non-traditional setting. Our WMPL book discussion celebrated National Poetry Month by discussing a packet of poetry that was compiled by Marie Feltmos. And then Don Tracy held another fantastic craft program during April using alcohol inks on tiles and metal containers for the Creators Club. The Library Gallery Ball has been a fantastic addition to the library. So during April, we held 2 artist meet and greets. The first was for the closing of Holly Walsh's art exhibit, and then the second was the opening of photographer Amy Lucebrink's exhibit. The library also participated in the resource fair at the Connect for Kids event held at the Osceola Elementary School, and we were able to promote the upcoming summer learning program as well as our ongoing youth programs. In April, I conducted interviews for the open library assistant position. It was a difficult decision as all of the candidates would have brought their various talents to the job, but I extended an offer of employment to one of the candidates. And thanks to our police department, after a background check, we were able to hire him, and he will be starting this next Tuesday. And then I also gave all of you our June calendar of events. It's going to be a busy summer. We're really looking forward to the summer learning program. There's an event every Thursday afternoon at 3 for the kids, as well as, of course, the summer reading portion of it. So, any questions?
What is a micro cow?
Mike, I don't know. We're really excited to find out. Evidently, they're just little cows.
I've never heard of them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like, you have ponies and they're just
Ah.
smaller versions.
Yeah.
So you'll have to come June 1st.
I
the
plan on
kickoff.
that. I'm bringing several young people with me because
Good,
they're
good.
wondering what it
Yeah.
is. So
I have nothing on micro cows. I'm sorry. No,
No.
no.
Look
I-
at with expectations, come on.
So I expect you all to be there then for the micro call. Anything else?
no.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Great report. All right, Paul, fire. Is that how you do that? Fire, fire.
Fire. Ricky's water is really good until we have a fire and then everything turns red in the whole village. So, we had 8 runs total, 4 were in the village of Osceola, 3 in the town of Farmington, 1 mutual aid with Dresser. Run breakdown was 1 motor vehicle accident, 3 grass and wildland fires, 2 medical lift assists, 1 alarm, and 1 gas leak. Training for land specialists, pump operations, and scene size up. We were driving around town, looking at all the buildings again, and trying to position or getting a position for all our trucks and that. We just did another meeting. We went through Polaris and toured their electric battery facility. So in case if there's ever a meltdown of the battery, we know exactly or pretty much what to do and how to cool it and that. So we had hangar inspections. We're down to 10 that haven't complied yet. Certified letters have been sent out, so it's scary for all that extra work. We had 26 of them that didn't comply at first, so, but we're getting it down there. We had an audit from the Wisconsin State District Fire Prevention Coordinator, and we passed. Everything passed with the audit. He had a few things that we need to do, but we were already kind of in the process of changing our requirements on that. So everything turned out well. And last we heard about the airboat completion is it's the 2nd week in July. So
Have you seen any pictures of it or any progress?
no, we haven't seen anything as far as production, but it went into production about a month ago. So it's being built.
Good.
So
Would you have to wait until next summer then to get trained on it, or you probably go down south?
when we go down to pick it up, there'll be about 4 of us that'll go down. We get trained with it. And then when we come back, he's going to come up here and train us again up here. And then we'll have to just do a lot of river running. So I'm kind of really excited about getting that. We did add a pump to it. So we shipped a pump down that we bought through the DNR. We're adding that to it so we can fight fires from the river.
Yep.
Up about 200, 300 feet off the river. We can put out campfires if there's campfires that we need to put out or get out of control. So, and then we did add a trolling motor to it that we can use. So if we get close to a patient, we can switch over to drop a trolling motor and we can troll up to them to get them and hold us on the river. River rescue is different than lake rescue because you have that constant flow down. So we have to make sure we can maintain a certain, level or distance. So
So does the motor, the trolling motor, then does the the boat operator operate that? Or is this a separate?
This would be the passenger of it. So the controls for that will go to the passenger side and then the operator will run. So you'd probably shut the motor off. We'll be training on it, but you shut the big motor off and go to a trolling motor. So
Sounds good.
any other questions?
No, there's one comment too. We had a discussion with the ambulance earlier this year, and I think the discussion went well, and I think that lift assists are down this year too,
Yeah,
which was the majority of the reason why their salaries were over budget last year was a lot of lift assist.
Yeah.
So I think there's been positive steps made in that direction.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going great because it's just something that you dealt with, and I think it's going smooth.
yeah, everything's going really good
Yeah.
there. We're down, on those, so that's good. Yeah. All right, anything else? Nope. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, Chamber of Commerce, Main Street.
Good evening, everybody. April was a good month for downtown. We welcomed 2 new businesses to downtown. The Burrow, located at 209 North Cascade, is a retail natural fiber attire. That's a tongue twister if you want to warm up your tongue. Decor, quality resale items, so we're excited to welcome them. And then Valley of the Inked in the old Osceola State Bank building at 112 North Cascade. They are a relocation from St. Croix Falls. Their business there was damaged in a fire, so working with the property owner, we were able to get them in within about 3 weeks. So they're excited. They're open. It's a woman-owned professional tattoo parlor, piercings, permanent makeup. And Erin wanted me to make sure to let people know she has people come from Canada to get tattoos from her. So they're really fun ladies, and we're glad to have them be a part of downtown. Also, April saw the 33rd annual Wisconsin Main Street Awards. So that's an awards across the state for the 35 other Main Street communities, of which we are one. And this year we came home with 2 awards. So Best Business Visual Merchandising Interior went to Coming Home, which is exciting to see that businesses that call Osceola home are getting acknowledged for all their hard work. And then there were 12 total community champions across the state, and the 2023 community champion for Osceola was Brandon Kaler from Dix and our bid board member. So excited to share that information. And then we had the River Valley Shop Hop come back for its 2nd year. So that's in a retail event between Osceola, St. Croix Falls, Taylor's Falls, and Lindstrom. This year we saw a 3rd increase. So we had 32 shops, and Osceola led the way with 12. 4 days of shopping, lots of shoppers, and $700 in prizes. So it was a good month all around. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, White.
You.
All right. That takes us out of staff reports and move into the main part of our agenda with other business. So discussion and possible action regarding 6A Arbor Day 2024 proclamation.
Well, after 16 years as part of being the Tree City program, one of those requests is that we honor Arbor Day within the village of Osceola. What I'm requesting from the board members and the village president tonight is to sign off on this proclamation that we will be conducting and declaring Arbor Day, May 23rd. We'll be replacing the replacement of that 60-foot linden that I discussed earlier in South Schulberg. We're going to put something new and vibrant in its place on that day. The paper will be notified along with the general public. We're respectfully requesting that we recognize this day, May 23rd, as the celebration of Arbor Day within the village of Osceola.
I think we're looking for
A
a
motion.
motion to adopt this proclamation. Is that correct?
Yep, looking for a motion to adopt it.
I will make a motion to adopt the Arbor Day proclamation, making May 23rd, 2024 an event in Osceola.
Go Arvid. Is there a second?
I can second.
All right, thanks, Neil. We have a motion by Arvid and a second by Neil to adopt this proclamation for Arbor Day. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you.
We welcome everyone to that event that day.
I will do my best to attend that day.
Was it just me last year with you?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
All right, so I think we're gonna keep you up here, Todd. Looks like we're moving right from 6A to 6B, mowing RFQs.
Yes, so every year built in within our operating and maintenance budget, the planned allowance for ground and maintenance contract for roughly 8 spaces. Of the 34 spaces that we finish mow, 13 parks plus public spaces within the village. We contract out these 8 spaces to help sort of alleviate how much we're doing on a weekly basis in the way of mowing. Otherwise, we'd be potentially a full-time mowing crew. That's about it. Not taking care of the $15 million plus assets, infrastructure, and equipment that we're responsible for. So this went out, was legally posted appropriately, and was in the sun for multiple weeks. We did get 3 total bids this year. All of these except for one at this time, we've conducted business with in the past. However, things go, prices rise anywhere up from 36% to 16% from previous years. So at this time, we've reviewed the bids, sort of vented the contractors, and we're recommending Lakefront Lawn and Dock at $13,750 with the lowest bid. While he has applied in the past, his business has grown. We've had the opportunity to work with him while he worked for the bid district and the Main Street director. So at this time, Public Works is very much comfortable in recommending him for the mowing bid at $13,750.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve Lakefront Lawn and Dock at the quoted bid of $13,750.
thanks, Van.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Van and a second by Ron to approve the bid from Lakefront Lawn and Dock. Any discussion?
I have one question. The Shellberg Park North,
Yes.
that's a big swing. Is there a way that when you look at the line items, the locations, that one was 206. The other two were 1280 and 1200. I mean, there's a few that go back and forth, but there's, I guess, a couple that are unique. Is there a way that you can track that to make sure you're getting the services you're looking for there?
Shubert Park North and some of the other spaces, some are a little bit less difficult than others. That Shubert Park North is sort of a small square that abuts the wetland.
Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Is it 206 or 1206?
Specifically for a lake.
Looks like 206.
Yeah, so it's $1,000 off.
Yep, I do see that.
I don't know that you're gonna have an answer, but maybe that's just something to track for future years, is if somehow the services are not, but how they shake out at the end of the year.
So we definitely, during this process, during the RFQ process, we provide maps as well. And I directly spoke with this contractor to ensure that he did on foot travel to each space and look at exactly what we're looking for and what's also defined within the contract. So he is aware. I completely understand some of the large differences in some of the bids.
Well, the overall number isn't that far off. It just, that one jumped out as being obviously a big discrepancy. Good enough.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the motion on the floor? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes. All right, moving on. 6C, Veterans Site.
So the Veterans Memorial Group came to the village staff with a proposal for making improvements to the Veterans Memorial Park. These improvements include electricity, lighting, water, and irrigation. Village staff, reviewed the proposal. We gathered estimates, and we informed the group that a maintenance or utility shed would certainly be necessary to house the proposed utilities, given the amount of vandalism, the overall cost of all of these things. We felt that it would be appropriate from a long-term stance to provide an appropriate facility to house them. The Veterans Memorial Group has recognized that all costs associated with the proposed improvements must be covered by the Memorial Group, except for the concrete pad and an asphalt patch to be provided by Public Works. Our estimates minus our wages will be roughly $600 for the pad, concrete pad. And then because of the current condition of the asphalt and the water main location, we'd be able to internally do that patch, saving that group $3,500. We know that there's costs associated in the future, ongoing maintenance, and of course, the infrastructure in itself that will of course be a liability.
It sounds like we've got some interested parties that are looking to step forward and caretake that site so that it doesn't land on your shoulders.
Yeah, so they're not received tonight. We're supposed to receive an MOU from Waterworks Irrigation about the ongoing maintenance of the irrigation system. The MOU is going to consist of the installation at no cost and the ongoing maintenance at no cost, even if he sells the business to another person. That would be something that he works in the contract. So if you approve this tonight, I would say approve it pending the MOU stating exactly what I just stated. So approve it pending the MOU, basically, because he was given the deadline to get that to me today and have not received it yet. So I would definitely make that motion pending the MOU.
Is there anything that prevents this project from happening in a reasonable timeline if we were to table it until the MOU is received?
Paul?
I assume he'll be here within a couple days. He's very, very busy at the moment.
So even if it got pushed out to June until we got the MOU, it would be okay.
And just given the village's track record with memorandums of understanding in the past, I'm not interested in entertaining anything until we can read the details of whatever MOU may be presented.
I've got questions about the whole scope, because usually Excel will provide a service. I'm guessing there's a separate meter socket there.
There'll be a meter socket installed.
Is
on the-
Excel providing a pedestal with a receptacle to power a simple controller? Or what's,
No, at this time, there appears to be a licensed electrician that's part of the veterans, this group.
Got
So
it.
there's certainly,
so there's equipment, somebody else is providing equipment.
yes,
Okay.
Excel Energy will only be
That's like a
Certifying
service.
supplying the distribution
Installation or
side of it.
something, okay. So there's other things going on here to complete this. This is just a
That's
high level estimate? Okay.
Yes.
I'd still like to see the MOU too.
I'd just like to acknowledge Paul for stepping forward and binding this to the business. That's great.
Yeah.
It really is. That shows buy-in for sure.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with going forward until we have that paperwork. So,
Yeah, and I'm okay with, we don't need to necessarily have any board action on this at the moment, as long as it's information that can reside and be added to the June agenda, right?
Knowing Excel, they're not going to jump on it anyway. This is storm season coming up. There's going to be plenty of business. They're busy. They're not going to be interested in putting another service in right away.
And who knows, there could be some additional information to share come June with regard to a very close adjacent property. So there's
Absolutely.
lots of things entangling with the Fourth Avenue and skate park. So
True.
and that could be affected by this. Cool.
Any other questions?
No, that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Okay, moving to 6D, Resolution 24-07, our general borrow.
Yeah, this is authorizing the bond that was passed in April to go out for sale. Making sure it's ratified tonight. Basically, we have to re-ratify it again as our bond council felt there was a step missed, and they just want to make sure it's not a state statute requirement. It's the bond wants to see the notice sent to the paper 24 hours before the meeting happened. And the editor couldn't remember what day he viewed it. So we're going back, making sure we get everything done. So the bond would be appropriate. So it's just ratifying that correction for tonight from last month's authorization.
And this doesn't change the interest rate that's
Nope,
applied?
doesn't change anything. Nope.
All right, did it change in our favor at all?
No.
At least you got to try.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just crossing T's and dotting I's.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2407. So moved by myself. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by myself and a second by Arvid to adopt 2407 to cross the Ts and dots the Is, as Devin says. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Carries. 6E. I will entertain all kinds of amendments to this motion before it's made. No, just kidding. This is something that's been happening for years, and it sounds like we're just, again, crossing Ts and dotting Is.
It's
Yeah.
adding that A.
It's bringing it into code, essentially. Yeah. Salaries and compensation, the final read and approval for board members. We did finally figure out when this went into effect, right?
We think it's around 50.
15 or 16, I think. Yeah.
And this would not take effect until after the next election.
This will take effect immediately.
No, but the pay, if it's,
Pay would take
Right.
effect after election.
Yeah, and it doesn't change what's currently being done at the
No.
moment.
Nope.
It's the exact same pay as it's always been for the last 7 years. So nothing is changing here. It's just finally codifying it. Okay. Seems oddly self-serving that we're gonna make this motion ourselves, but I guess that's the way government works.
has to be done that way.
We're just clarifying the process a raise would have to go through, which I think
Yes.
is good governance. Like
If
that's,
there were to be a raise, this
There
is
were
how
to
that
be one.
process would work.
this is how it would work, just to make sure that it's clear to everybody, which I think is good to be clear on.
It is. Yep.
Absolutely.
we're just clearing up codes tonight.
Cleanliness is good.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2402.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Van and a second by Neil to approve ordinance 2402. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Carries. Okay, two more ordinance work. 6F, ordinance 2403 to amend chapter section 219-13C for R3 multifamily residential districts.
Yes, this was voted and recommended to board last week by the planning commission. In our R3 ordinance, there was no basically describer saying how big a lot can be for the buildings. So for instance, the minimum lot size is 12,000 square feet. You could put 12 units on there, but you could also only put 12 units on a 10-acre parcel. So this is cleaning up, making sure that there is a disclaimer of how much can be built on site. Or I should say a definition of it that was missing.
Yeah, I think the deficiency here was that somebody could own a 10-acre parcel and they would still be limited to 12 units
Mhm.
without breaking it up and adding.
And this is
roads.
important, for instance, because every development needs a public street. So if they divided it up to 4 equal areas, each 4 of those would need a public street, and that'd be more infrastructure that we have to take care of. This would allow, if they build 12 units on a 4-acre parcel, that it can just connect directly to the street, and there's less public utility
Private.
involved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
private drives, you know.
Can you help me understand how we arrived, and this is academic, I suppose, but at the 12,000 square foot number? Like,
Minimum
is
lot
there-
size.
Okay, so that came from somewhere reasonable.
Yeah, it came from the minimum lot size, because if you're allowed 12 units per minimum lot size.
Okay.
That's better than saying an acre or 2 acres, because if you're allowed 12, you should be able to multiply that out. But you still have to follow rest of village code when it comes to green space, parking, and everything else.
Yeah, the limiting factors are gonna be the other parts of the code,
Sure.
not the lot size, when you get down to that small.
I also have, because I can't help myself, a minor cleanup item
Yeah.
on C3B. We're missing a 0. I trust that can be fixed.
Yep, that can be edited.
Thank you.
We can make the adoption pending that consideration.
Doesn't, it's, clerical errors don't need a, you can just edit those.
Got it. Okay,
We'll move, we adopt ordinance 24-03.
thank you, Arvid. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Arvid and a second by Neil to adopt 2403, the amendment of chapter 21913C for R3 multifamily residential districts. Any discussion on the motion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right, 6G, our procurement policy.
This was recommended for board approval by the finance committee last week. It was brought to our attention when Drew came here about, 2 months ago, that we do not have a procurement policy within the village. Some federal grants require that the municipalities have procurement policies adopted by the board. This will set forth policies, how we procure contract services and how we buy goods. This has been kind of adopted from multiple municipalities. It makes all the sense to me. I wrote it, so if there's any questions that you have, feel free to ask.
Does this represent a significant change in the way that we've been purchasing things? It's just, we're writing it down now.
Writing it down now, making sure that if we all leave, that someone can step right in and say, oh, this is how they do it. It still allows, some autonomy for the department heads and for me, but it gives you the hard limits that you can finally see, not just agreed upon.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the Village of Osceola's procurement policy.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Van. Thank you, Mike. We have a motion by Van and a second by Mike to adopt the procurement policy. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay, 6H, MSA Professional Services on several items.
Yes, the first one will be the park plan that was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission last month. Last week. Staff has looked this over and given our notes, and staff feels that this document is ready to be accepted and approved. This plan is something that is needed for the grant that we're going off to, the stewardship grant for the DNR. I think this document is excellent. I like the in-depth detail of what every park needs. I feel MSA did a great job on this document.
I appreciate the feedback, Devin. I can just take it from there. This document just talks about Village of Osceola's parks and trails, goes through some goals and strategies, goes through recommendations and how we're going to implement some of the goals. And also, there was 2 different surveys that were taken apart for this plan, and those survey results are documented in here. So residents were able to share their voice, and we documented that. And as Devin mentioned, one of the reasons we're taking this endeavor to do this plan is for this DNR stewardship funding. And this plan will be valid for approximately 5 years from 24. So till the end of the year 29, this plan will be valid. When I look at the CIP that we're looking to adopt shortly, I see all of the parks are going to be looking for stewardship funding. And so this plan has come in line with the CIP. So they're basically referencing each other on some of the improvements, and that's important. We want to use this plan to go after that funding source. That's why we're doing it. So like the next stewardship application, according to the village's CIP, would be Gateway Meadows Park. That gets documented in this plan to be ready for that. So.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a question brought up during Plan Commission while we were going over this concerning the public input portion and making sure that we had proper public input. And I think that there maybe had been a little bit of miscommunication with regard to where public input actually occurs. And that was brought out that you said that the public input in terms of public hearings is more important for the capital improvement plan and the comp plan, the comprehensive plan for the village,
Yeah, we're not required for,
and not required for a parks plan, which is sort of, like you said, a smaller offshoot of the bigger comp plan for the village.
Yeah, the public input for the park plan was the public survey that went out this winter and also stakeholder interviews. The public hearing and the public input session for the comp plan will be this summer.
Yep.
In
And
August.
that's to come.
That's still to come for the comp plan, yes. That's a far more important feature for the comp plan than for the park plan.
Okay.
But we did receive quite a bit of survey feedback for these parks.
There was a ton of survey input that came in for the parks
I think we had-
surveys.
We had over 200 survey responses, which is a big number for surveys.
It was
Yeah.
nice to see.
It was.
Really
It was
helpful.
really illuminating.
Really
Yeah.
helpful.
It actually helped shape
Mhm.
the second major focus for the parks plan, which is Gateway Meadows Park. I think that brought Gateway Meadows a lot farther forward, faster than we would have done that, so.
yeah, public engagement's becoming more and more important. I mean, whenever we're doing a DOT-led project, we're required to, engage with public, get their feedback on whatever we're doing. And so I think we're doing the right thing, trying to follow examples and
Yep, we're the stewards of the taxpayers' money, and I think this is a really nice way to present what's going on and what's being planned here.
Can you,
Nice.
oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Can you help me understand? I think I really like the plan. I think it's clear a lot of thought went into it. I like where it's going. It also has a lot of details in it, like keeping track of grant opportunities. And I guess I'm just wondering from an ownership sense, where does this go? Because to make a good plan and then stick it on a shelf and never, use it again. So is it something that someone on staff will be in charge of paying attention to these things, or how do we make sure that we don't lose the work
Yeah, and
that's been done here?
To answer your question, it's a combination of making sure that these projects stay in our CIP and making sure that we're progressing those in the future.
That makes sense.
And also, when we apply for stewardship grants, these need to be in our park plan too. So it's the more or less the funding aspect of it. What are we planning to do with it and how we're using it? The CIPs keep us on track so we have the funding to these projects, and then to apply for the grants that can help us fund these projects too. So that's kind of how we're being held to it.
Okay.
It kind of comes down to how we're going to follow it, like your issue of how do you follow it. Well, this has given us the guidebook to make sure that we have the funding for these things.
Well, and so what I'm hearing is the details of, obviously the CIP is telling us the prioritization of projects kind of going out. But then as far as like matching grant opportunities, those kinds of things, the CIP is also the place where we will know there's a stewardship opportunity here, or there's
And that's
some
why we-
other grant there.
And that's why we hired MSA to help monitor our CIP,
Okay.
to make sure that we're apprised of those grant opportunities. It's much easier because they have their finger on the pulse of the grant opportunities versus staff here, which we have a lot of things to worry about.
Well, and that's why I was asking,
Yep.
because it's a long list and you don't want to miss grant opportunities or forget that they're
Mhm.
going on. And I think the CIP is a good place for it to live, because that's where we're deciding what capital projects we want to do. So I appreciated that it was tied in, but I just wanted to ask that ownership
Yeah,
question.
it comes up to board members and staff to making sure that we're following this plan and making sure we're continuing to care about the CIP and what we plan to do.
And I think the CIP is a good tool for that. So, okay.
any additional discussion?
If not, we'd be looking for a resolution to approve the core plan tonight.
Yeah, that'd be resolution 2406.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve 2406 Osceola Court Plan.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Van and a second by Neil to adopt resolution 2406, which approves the Village of Osceola Comprehensive Outdoor Recreational Plan. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right, we have a court plan now.
Nice.
Woo, that's right. 3, update on the Cascade Falls stewardship application.
Yeah, thank you. I want to provide an update on what happened here. I'll start by talking about the funding amount. Devin, could you go down?
Yep.
on the agenda a little bit?
Yep, there we go.
Right here. So here's a snippet of the funding section or the money section of the stewardship application. So what we're seeing here is in these black boxes is potential grant amount. One is from this Lockhart funding, which is this 50% amount, and the other one is for this RTP funding amount, which is trails. And that is, it changes every year how much you can get, they cap it. I guess this year it's $250,000 that they capped it at. So our project exceeds that, so hopefully we get the Lockhart funding, which is 50% match. And sometimes when I'm talking about this grant source, people ask me, can you potentially get both of these monies? Because one is state money, one's federal money. And there has been a situation where both of these were awarded. It's just not very likely. It's basically like if the budget has excess money in it, then more funding would be distributed to your project, but we can't count on it. So we're looking at one or the other here. Kiana, the person who wrote this grant, she was talking with the DNR today, and they were really happy with it. So, I'm optimistic on being funded based on initial review and people being optimistic. Yeah, the next thing I want to talk about is just the cost estimate that MSA put together for this park. I wanted to highlight the cost, which I hope it's alarming. The cost, has 20% contingency built into every bid item. These funding programs, they don't want to see inflation. They don't want to see contingency as line items. So these numbers have been inflated. Numbers that stick out to me are the stairway complete. I would anticipate this aluminum staircase to be around that $500,000 for supplies and contractor being there. And then this overlook, you can see it there, just under $300,000. Now, this overlook, we wanted to capture some historic aesthetics of, this wheel that was at Grits Mill Park when the site first developed, this sawmill. Well, we also, this overlook will be circular. Maybe you could go down again, Devin, please. So just, okay. Try to capture this design. There was a design like this that was installed in North St. Paul, and their project was bigger than this circular overlook, and they had tons of fancy lights and lots of different aesthetics. But their project was around $1 million just for this overlook. So the reason I'm even discussing this tonight is because I'm just providing options on, reducing the scope of this project or, things to reduce the cost. This overlook, it could be removed. It could just be a stairway overlook here. It'd still be an overlook. It wouldn't be as beautiful. I'm going to capture this aesthetic.
Is this something?
What's the current CIP outlay for this project for phase 1?
Yep. The budgeted CIP. Maybe it was $380,000. The PDF I have here says 400. So it falls short of this total project cost. There's also things in my cost estimate like design engineering, 10% of the total cost. That includes my contingency, and then construction engineering, another 10%. $200,000 of engineering fees in there that I'm just estimating. I guess.
With the two homeless areas, would it be better to wait to see if we're awarded the grant before we start cutting things back?
That's your option. Yeah, see the grant amount. MSA is going to be working on this plan, the site plan. for another 3 months, and we'll be making presentations. There'll be opportunity for discussion. We'll be anticipating grant award in September, which maybe Devin already said that. I could have forgot. So there'll be time for discussion. I just want to provide options. So.
Yeah, because I mean, in terms of finances, we're really, it would be tough to go above what we have allocated in the CIP currently.
Yeah, I think the CIP needs to dictate what we can do here.
And I just want to clarify that I'm understanding the situation that you're describing. So there's this STU LWCF opportunity,
Mhm.
and then there's this RTP.
That's
We
correct.
are liable to be awarded one or the other,
That's correct.
and we then would need to provide that sponsor match that's listed. So even under the most optimistic grant award scenario, we're still short $400,000, right?
Between that and 300, yeah.
That's with your 10% contingency.
I hear the logic of waiting to see what we're awarded and better understanding the choice, but
Mhm.
I'm feeling the tug of the reins.
Well, we're gonna make those adjustments.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Because, it'd be nice to have all this nice stuff.
I agree entirely.
In all reality, we gotta stay within our,
We do.
Yeah, and I mean, we've done a relatively thoughtful allocation of funds in the CIP towards a project like this, but ultimately I don't want to shop with money we don't have yet, so.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you know
Was
what
there
the
switchbacks taken out?
Yeah, I mean, there really isn't a switchback in these stairs. The
Okay.
stairs you're looking at is about, 100, roughly 120 steps. The steps got longer. There's a overlook on this number 3 here. So mid-block overlook, place to rest.
Do you know what the service life is on an aluminum staircase versus what's currently there?
I could guess for you today, Brad. I don't know the data.
I would assume it's longer.
I would think.
yeah. Wood, wood doesn't last forever, but stainless is quite a while.
Yeah.
On this map that's on screen, where is Grist Mill?
So the overlook is number 4.
Here's the watershed.
Got it. And so the entry,
Would be here on Cascade and then here on 243. So you'd go down a little walkway. The current overlook is up here.
Yeah, by number 1, I believe.
got it. And the other parts that I see then, those are boardwalk coming in from the backside, right?
Yep.
So 1, 2, 3, yeah.
How close is that to the falls?
The falls are in the corner of that red.
Okay, so far enough back.
Mhm.
It's always been a battle. I mean, the way it's designed right now, it keeps a lot of the public away.
Mhm.
If you bring the public closer, you're gonna have a lot more people jumping on top of the falls,
Uh-huh.
trampling that area down, walking down the side. It's just, right now, there's kind of a natural nice barrier where it doesn't happen that often. And you bring the masses that close, I think we're gonna have to worry about that happening.
As possible. And then, fire department, you guys, what's your input on this?
There's one section on top where that overlook is at 3. That surface of that overlook should extend all the way across that top of that stairway so that you can make a turn there with the Stokes basket.
And you said we're looking at 8 feet wide paths?
The path is 8 feet wide. Yep. The stairs is 6 feet wide. Try to save cost. This stair set has to be completely custom manufactured and be shipped here in sections.
Yep.
MSA talked to vendors on the East Coast, in the Twin Cities, trying to get people to buy in on it. They all said, yeah, it'll be a custom job. We'll basically go out for bids for custom manufacturing of these stairs.
So,
As long as you don't have a pinch point on the railing coming up the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
That corner, that's all.
yeah, I think that's something you guys need to be part of. Drew makes, I mean, it's really important on that aspect, for for the rescue part, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a quick design choice. So the distinction between number 4 and number 6 then is what again?
So yeah, 6 is just a piece of concrete pad. There'll be some
Okay.
benches there.
Okay.
Basically a place for 2 pathways to meet, go into a different location,
Mhm.
aesthetically. And then 4 is an overlook. There's a concrete foundation wall that is supporting this overlook, and then there'll be braces allowing it to lean over the bank.
Got it.
So what you're seeing in the middle there is like a aesthetic wheel, and that could be made out of various types of grating. So you can see underneath it if you want, or you can seal it up, or just different types of aluminum shaping this historic wheel that was on site.
Okay.
And I'd like to just share that, like this plan is at like 30% planning phase. So I'm totally open for, revamping or getting more input from the fire department on it. So and work on it for months.
This is only phase 1, so,
Yep. We'll be working on it for,
yeah.
till
Yep.
a long time. So I wanted to have discussion. That's all I'm looking for here. So.
So you want me to keep working through to find ways to bring the cost down? Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
I think you gotta scale back a little bit. Yeah, that doesn't,
Yeah.
we don't have the funds to support even a best grant opportunity at this point, so.
So we'll keep working with Drew, Todd, and me, and bring in the fire department to make sure that their needs are met too, because that was one of the big concerns that we discussed in our meeting, to make sure that they have no problems moving a board up and down those stairs.
Can you remind me what the thinking was around moving the starting point of the stairs into Gristmill from where they are now? I don't know that it would result in any savings or anything. I just, for my own
Closure.
information.
The closing of the stairs. The reason we decided to move it was a little better launching area, and also the stairs would not be closed during construction.
All right.
And also gets us away from that riprap wall that we do not want to be near.
Safety. Yeah. I appreciate the discussion. Okay, move on if there's nothing else.
This is a little more in detail, isn't it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, here, Ron, you can see proposing pedestrian fence. I know fences, we talked about those earlier. They don't always work, but
Keep the honest people out.
So it's a regular fence, right?
The next part, Drew, is CIP, correct?
yep, that's correct.
A little heads up on the CIP tonight. I would be looking for a motion to approve the 24 and the 25 CIP and continuing working on the CIP in the years after. Kind of as a running, a document we can keep evolving with projects that we want. But tonight, I would like to make sure at least at the minimum, we get 24 and 25 approved.
Yeah, very good. I'll take it from there, Devin. So I'm presenting this final report, calling it the final draft, anticipating working with Rick in the utility, integrating some more updates that he's found. So to just give board members a quick overview, in this report, we talk about how the CIP process even comes to light, and how this plan, why this plan is even a thing for communities. Try to provide some clarity, context for everyone on why we're even having this plan. Then talk about the process and how we came to these projects. Try to put some priority on the projects. There's unlimited number of projects that can go into the plan, and there's just as many future projects as there are 5-year integrated projects. So try to create some level of priority so that this document is useful and not just redundant, even though it's getting big, trying to cut it down. Then we talk about the estimating. This is a cost-driven plan, so the numbers are my opinion is the numbers are the most important thing. So we talk about contingency, we talk about inflation, which in a workshop meeting, we decided on 5% inflation to be added annually to this plan. Different levels of contingency, depending on whether we are initially planning for the project or we've been planning for years. It varies. Then show the CIP cost calculator, talk about project descriptions and summaries of projects, try to provide some clarity about any large project. There are some projects that don't have a description. I'm guessing those are equipment projects or small one-off jobs. And in these summaries, we do talk about funding. So a lot of the road transportation projects, they'll be they are contingent on MSID funding. For example, a lot of the park projects contingent on stewardship funding. So a lot of the fire trucks are contingent on AFG funding. So we documented this in the report to provide transparency for the next readers on the village investment in the plan. Trying to correlate this funding source and then just village investment. This plan tries and aims to just show village investment in a project. Can be challenging to do, but that's the goal here. That's my short overview. Some things that I found after working through this plan, reviewing it, is that to provide relief for this plan, the village needs to create more TIDs, in my opinion. Further TID creation will provide relief for this plan in the future years. And that's my feedback on the document. Is there any discussion or anything I could provide insight on?
Nope. Neil, on page 240, that's kind of a checklist of the grants availability, a quick overview of potential grants for items. So once again, another useful tool that we received during the CIP process.
Andy.
Yeah, and to Drew's comment regarding additional TIDs within the village, the response that was given during the admin finance discussion around this was that we have a rather large TID opportunity that's still outstanding and embroiled in a legal battle at the moment. So until we know what's happening with a potential huge TIF incentive, we kind of have to wait a little bit until we
I would
figure out
wait
what
until
else we're
closer
doing.
to getting a bigger project again.
Right.
To create a new TID to start the clock again. That way we can maximize your increment you've gained over the life of the TID.
Yep.
You want to make sure that you have a rather large project within a new TID so you can capture the increment for the maximum number of years.
Is it something that is close to what the existing one that we're in a holding pattern about that amount?
It wouldn't have to be that large, no. But you still want a project over a few $1 million to start, excuse me, because there is a lot of cost to start a TID up.
Conversation with the developer to start this plan.
Yeah, south of the village is really the only major opportunity for that at the moment for a larger development area. That area is probably where we're looking, but even still, that conversation should probably wait till 25 because we're going to know a little bit more what's going on with the current legal situation by then, hopefully.
Or if there happens to be an $80 million warehouse that wants to come to town, would get going on that process.
Yeah, that would spur the conversation immediately, but
That actually would help.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. No,
I know
that's
that.
something that would drive a new TID.
Everybody has dreams.
One of the other things too that was brought up was the chance to have a productive conversation around many of the projects that are currently sitting in the illustrative section, which is 6 to 10 years out, and helping to set some sort of agreement around prioritization of those items that are sitting in illustrative. I didn't see anything on the agenda tonight to talk about that, but I know that was brought up.
Yeah.
Is there a plan to
continue
that discussion?
That's why my recommendation tonight was to approve the 24 and 25 CIP. I want to make sure you guys have ample time to look at that information and then be able to digest it. That's something that we can wait and approve the full CIP in June with the board being able to look it over and really itemize what they deem is necessary. I didn't see that a weekend's worth of look would do it justice. But if we give ourselves more time to look at that and really rate your illustrative, to approve that plan then in June, the full CIP plan in June, today just approve the 24 and 25 plan. And then that gives us the getting document for the upcoming years.
And I think that authorizes the funds to be spent too then on the
Yep.
things that we want to start doing.
Or at least start to order them. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, just board approval.
Like another one is like immediately below, I think the Simmon Drive bids, in order to be able to accept that bid, I think it's part of our CIP.
Oh, CIP, that's in the 22 and 23 one. So we're
Yeah,
good
that's
there.
Yep, this plan has $0 in the Simmon Drive project, just for
Okay.
clarity.
That was one of my, at the risk of looking stupid, I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
not a
yeah.
number in that
We
box.
budgeted for that in the previous,
That makes sense.
because it was supposed to be done, a few years ago.
Yep, I'm sorry, I misspoke on that. Yep. But I agree. I think that we've had a couple of residents step forward with concerns related to some of the items that are in the illustrative area. And again, being responsive to those that are, interacting with the board, I would like to make sure that those people get the appropriate level of consideration that they deserve. If they've made the effort to talk to us, then we should put forth that effort to consider that as we look at the illustrative things.
And the good thing with CIP, it's kind of it's a moving document too. We can always move things forward if grant opportunities come available. For instance, we're setting our 2-year one up, but if a grant came available in 26, we could look to move something from 28 into 26, given that we have a funding source for it.
Or backwards, if we've got something set that we're not quite ready to do.
Yeah, it's a good roadmap. It's not a rule book.
Devin, could you scroll to page 256 and Drew, could you tell us what we're looking at there? I think I know what it's covering, but I just want to be clear.
Yeah, no problem, Arvin.
Yeah, it's probably a different page number in here.
We'll get there.
It's the capital improvement program contingent on funding document page. Art, what's your question on that?
Well, I just want to be clear what this is telling us.
So the general capital borrowing, so the 602 and the 689, that is the amount that the capital borrow is pitching in for these projects. Utility capital, that's their own service projects. The recapture of equipment is the revenues we received from the sale of equipment. Impact fees are the money that we receive from our impact fees for building. And then TID is the money that we're putting forth from TID 3 into this capital improvement plan. So really you're seeing a year by year illustration of what each area of revenue is contributing to our capital improvement plan. So each year we're spending about $1 million in capital improvement, but on that 1.4 million that we agreed upon to borrow is the general capital borrow. So the others are the other sources of revenue that you're looking at.
Thank you.
Yeah, it can be confusing, Mr. Mackey, and it's important just to illustrate. It's important just to illustrate all these different sources of revenue.
Yeah, that's
For
utility.
the sake of
So they run
funding
their own
and
their
and
own
clarity.
business. Yeah.
When
This
planning
is what I'm
organizations
concerned
want to
with,
see the
this
CIP,
number right
they
here,
want to see
26.
how the sewer and water pipe is being paid for on a road reconstruction project.
Sure.
They want to know how you're coming up with match, or is it a revenue bond? So just,
And for TID funding in 26, that's where you're talking about where the village would do itself a favor to start looking at the opportunity to expand the number of TIDs that we have.
yeah, so the.
Because you're right
reverse-
now building into the plan that we're looking at potentially $870,000.
Yeah, because the other option then would be, we go to conventional borrowing and pay back over years with TID financing over the years instead of a lump sum up front in the capital plan.
Yeah.
So that there'd be a few ways that you go about that plan in 26. Currently it's in the CIP, so that's where it's currently sitting.
The project that's making the amount go up is that River Street and River Street.
The
3rd
Bluffs
Avenue.
project.
Yeah, right. It's a big project, millions of dollars. Doesn't fit in a year of this $700,000 annual borrow. It won't fit in the plan. These $1 million projects won't fit in your plan. On that project, I believe you're going to use clean and safe drinking water loans, and there's opportunity to finance as you pursue those loans. So
And our debt capacity by that point will have been 2 more years even improved. And we could be even looking at, potentially a better bond rating.
Yeah, and that's
So-
one thing I look at too is your debt capacity staying at relatively the same number. Even though it looks like you're borrowing more, if debt's coming off, it definitely would mean that, the tax revenues could possibly stay the same.
Yeah, because we're paying off existing debt. And so that money that we're using to make those debt payments that are now gone can now be redirected towards new debt that we can take out to fund this stuff. But it's a delicate balancing act.
Yeah, because currently on that River Street project too, we are awarded the LRIP grant for that project, and then there's possible clean water loans funds too. So there are other revenue sources that would allow that to be kicked out of the CIP.
And the LRIP grant is due to be spent by when?
29?
29, okay.
So-
It's good that they recognize that we spent the LRIP monies for Simmon and still gave us the LRIP grant for Third, because that was a concern, right? We were worried about whether or not they were gonna give us any additional LRIP funds. So it's good that that happened. And we don't want to dissuade those funds. I mean, we definitely want to take the free government money on the project that we're already planning on doing.
Money is great.
Yeah. We just have to be responsible in how we borrow it. Yeah, the only major concern that I had was just to make sure that the conversation around illustrative projects continues to remain alive. And I understand completely that if we were to have a motion tonight to adopt the plan for the first 2 years, that will get us off and running with what we're currently doing. And the remaining years behind it can then live as the conversation that we have to finish out that CIP plus illustrative projects. So.
And I guess to your point about that illustrative and kind of the ongoing conversation, structurally, we're approving a 2-year plan. Is there next year going to be an opportunity for the board to get together and talk about the progress in the CIP and where we're seeing, like that's a schedule?
So, yes. In years prior, there's been no tracking of the CIP dollars being spent. Currently, Tanya has gone back in 22 and 23, the last borrow, to see what money is remaining from that. There is some money remaining in the 22 and 23. We're not exactly sure how much is it. We're still going on that project. So there's a chance that we're able to do some other projects that are not currently in the CIP. We'll talk about later tonight about the skate park that can be used in. But we plan to keep an item by item list of things that are being bought through the CIP and the existing cash that we have through the CIP.
And then there's going to be kind of a consistent reporting structure back to the board, I would.
Or admin finance
Trust
or
or
whatever
somebody.
someone that we have.
Yeah.
And
It
keep
would
in
be
mind,
helpful, I guess, as someone who's not on admin finance, to see that, just so that we can all be familiar with
Yeah.
what's going on and
Almost a CIP audit of sorts.
kind of, well, I
Yeah.
kind of picture it like the budget report we get,
Yeah.
like just a reporting document that goes into the consent agenda. This is where we are. I think that would provide transparency to us and to the public so that we can see where we're doing well, where we haven't made progress.
and keep in mind with the procurement policy tonight that you passed, they still have to come to the board to purchase these items.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to call anybody out specifically, but I will just take an opportunity to share just one example. I know Todd does a pretty good job talking about various line items that are in the budget and the CIP funds dedicated for it. And he always lets us know if he has a purchase that is coming in above or below, and then where those additional funds are either going to be moved to or come from. And I've seen Paul do the same. So I've seen you do it with fire as well. So it does happen in the committee settings.
Sure.
And so that's going to be something that we'll talk about tonight too. But I do think that it would be helpful just to get a quick snippet, and it could be done in even just a quick admin wrap up, just to say.
Or we can, because like I said, Tanya plans, we were talking about it before. When we started, we had no clue how much money was left in the CIP because there was no tracking of it. Now we plan to actively track what we have.
Yeah, well, we don't have a formal treasurer's report as part of our regular meeting setting, and that could be something that we could ask her to just put up a couple paragraphs that gets read by Devin or whatever. I mean, that's something that we can ask for. I've seen other municipalities do that. They have a treasurer report that's just part of the meeting. So,
Well, and I guess I'm just bringing this up because I feel like we're doing a lot of good planning work, and I want us all to make sure that we
yeah,
touch those plans and are familiar with them and see them and hold ourselves, to your point, it's up to us and staff to make sure we follow them. And in order to do that, I think we need to be hit with them with some frequency.
yeah, and we spent so much time over the last 6-7 years just stopping all spending.
It's a lot.
And now we're finally at a point where we can strategically plan to spend, and now let's make sure that we're,
Let's follow the plan.
let's follow.
Stay on
yeah,
the
the
plan.
one that
You're
we're
right.
doing, yeah.
Yep.
Agreed. Anybody have any other questions for Drew on this?
No,
Nice job, Drew.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mackey.
Yeah, appreciate the legwork. I know that our existing CIP was a little disjointed at best, so.
This is just work at the RUD. This stuff goes on forever.
Emails and documents back and forth.
Yeah, me bothering Devin every day. For a week.
Fingers
That's
crossed.
right,
that
we turn into friends.
Grant money start rolling in here pretty quick, so.
Yeah.
Takes time.
yeah.
Yeah, so if there's no other discussion, I'll circle back to Devin's recommendation, and that's just, I'm looking for board approval on years 24 and 25 of the CIP.
That'd be resolution 2408.
That goes
Well, you don't need to have a resolution. I guess it's up to Devin.
You would not need a resolution just for the 24 and 25. When you adopt the full CIP, I'd like it to be a resolution, if that makes sense.
So you're talking about updating on what?
This is not the one that we want you to approve, because we're changing this.
The resolution in the packet says 2025, 2029.
Right, so
This one.
we don't want to go that far. Yeah, I
So
know
separate-
that. We
so
talked
separate
about
So I
that.
would say
action approving
approval of the 24 and 25,
Yes.
and then at the next meeting, when you have a chance to look it over and really kind of prioritize, maybe then we can look at
Yep.
ratifying the full document in its entirety.
Okay.
I just want to get my department heads a chance to go spend money.
I'll make a motion, we approve the capital plan as presented for 2024 and 2025.
I will second that.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Van. We have a motion by Neil and a second by Van to approve the current capital improvement plan design for the first 2 years. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thanks, Drew.
Yeah, see you next month.
Okay, 6I, Simmon Drive bids.
Here we go.
Yes, this is a good thing. Simmon bids were opened on May 9th. We received 6 bids, very competitive bids. I don't know, previous meetings. I'm basically the high bidder on all of this, so that's a good thing. Everyone was below me. So the low bidder was Albright's and Excavating for $361,662. Albrightson has worked in the town. We've worked with them several times. They're very reputable. And I would look for a motion to approve the bids and move into construction.
Do we know what was set aside for this?
In the CIP, it was 230.
And then our portion, if we accept the low bid, would be how much?
It's a 50-50, it's a 50-50 match, and then they're required, or they're up to 72 we approved by them. But it was really 30, what was the percentage, so 37%?
Yeah.
Yep.
So if it's less than that 72, we'd bill them for the 37%.
Yeah.
That was agreed to pay upon.
I'm just looking to see how much we've saved, and now that these bids have come in less than what you had anticipated that we would spend.
We still have to add in the engineering fees and all that stuff still too. So there's still some fees that have to be added. So next meeting, I can have those numbers for you about what are the actual costs going to be, and then disperse it from there, because there will be some items that still have to be added.
Okay, we're still gonna be able to operate under the CIP allocation for it, you think?
We're at,
Or
we're
is
at
this, I
three,
didn't see the CIP allocation, sorry.
well, I mean, yes, we'll be under because
But yes, we'll be
we're
under.
at 361 for their bid, which is
Yes.
180, 50%. So,
Yep,
and the state, the LRIP includes half of engineering too, correct?
yes, that is
So
correct.
we'd still be under. Quick math is showing me we're still under significantly.
That's kind of the point that I was trying to drive home, is that because these bids have come in lower than what Angela had initially estimated, we
Mhm.
stand to save a few dollars on getting this project done. So coming in under budget is what we want.
I was guessing $20,000 to $40,000 saved in the CIP.
Okay.
But I'll get that number will be easier to come by next month.
So this is us being responsible about how much we estimate things are gonna be, and hopefully recovering some funds after the year is over, so that when unexpected opportunities like the skate park present themselves, there's hopefully some dollars left over from things like this. So,
3 cheers for good planning.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I will entertain a motion to accept the bid from the lowest bidder.
So moved.
Okay, thanks, Arvid.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a second, motion by Arvid and a second by Ron to accept the best bid for the Simmons Drive project. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Let's pave that dang road. My goodness, it's been like 4 years that project has finally been.
It was a lot of negotiation with the town of Osceola.
Terrible.
Oh,
Shouldn't have to go through that.
all right. Moving on, 6J, police combination with St. Croix.
Yeah, let me get that item up there, right? Where are these documents?
That was all flock
This was such a
systems.
big packet this month. There we go. So yes, last night, St. Croix, the city of St. Croix had a meeting, and I sent this memo to them last week, and Joel just changed a few names, and they're amenable and agreed to this type of arrangement of selecting 2 board members and the 2 police chiefs and the 2 administrators to kind of form an ad hoc committee to continue our conversation of police combination. We've been talking to St. Croix about the possibility of this since last November, December. Joel and I and Aaron and AJ have, Joel and I and Tanya have been working on the budget, what the budget might look like, and is it willing, do the numbers match so we can go forward with this? And AJ and Aaron have been dealing more with the policy and the equipment that would need for this type of a merger. So tonight would kind of be the formal process of starting this with the political people at B to help us guide and get to the finish line for this. Paul, who is our attorney, and also Paul Muller, who is our village attorney and also the St. Croix village attorney, handled this for Centurion and Balsam Lake. So he has experience dealing with these combinations, and he's crafted these documents too. So that's really where we're at with this. We'd be excited to start this ad hoc committee and get it going so we can present the information that we have and start getting this process moving.
Do you have any volunteers to be a part of the ad hoc committee?
Well, I'll be one.
I think by definition, it's supposed to be experts, right?
I wasn't gonna mandate that you be part
It
of it.
doesn't have to
but-
be experts, because once again, we're looking out for the best of the village once
I
again.
know, but I think ad hoc means that you got some technical background in the topic.
He's got jokes.
Yeah, I suppose.
Oh, that's right.
All right, well,
I started talking before Ron
I'm
volunteered.
I'm glad that Ron and Van had both expressed interest. I think that that's a natural selection option there, so.
I also want to say a few things too, and the reason we're looking at this as a possibility is with the current climate of trying to find officers. This would mean that we're a combined department and would be trying to attract the same officers rather than trying to hire the opposition of hiring from, and also the opportunity to save some potential money, cost savings in this, and provide 24-hour coverage, which our citizens are expected to have. So it's kind of a three-prong approach that we took to look at this to see this as what would be best for our city and village.
That's great.
The I guess I'm curious as this goes forward, like I'm excited to see the budget savings that we anticipate getting. And I have to concede a little skepticism, I think, on the recruiting side, just because I don't know that we've been losing officers to St. Croix Falls. Maybe we have. And they have taken, you're nodding, so maybe they have taken candidates that were otherwise coming here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I am not speaking in opposition to the idea of a merger. I just want to, I appreciate you clarifying kind of our goals with this, so that, I guess I just encourage our ad hoc experts, that to me, if those are the two primary things we're focused on, then I really want to see a plan that addresses those two things. And can, we think, meaningfully improve our recruitment challenges and our budget position.
Last April, the state assembly had passed some guidelines for kind of grants for combination type services. I've recently reached out to them again for the third time, and I asked them, I said, what are the guidelines for these grants? And they said, thanks for your email, apply to our newsletter. The rest of the details are coming out soon. So I've gotten that response 3 times now in the past year. So we have yet to receive the state guidelines yet about what grants would be available for these innovation type grants.
Okay.
And AJ is here tonight to answer any questions that you might have department wise that things might change.
I have several questions. I'm just kidding.
Oh, kidding.
Bring it on.
I knew that was coming.
At some point.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting journey, but I think we're going to come up with some pretty viable solutions here. That's going to benefit both communities. We've got enough talent here with what's in place already, and it's time. I don't foresee any changes in the future as far as people jumping on an application process right away to go into law enforcement. And everybody knows the story about that. Just one comment about some of your I don't know what it is, but a bigger department can attract more people. The volume, the what is going to be the interaction, and what we have, our selling points of both communities, I think is going to attract. So I think it's going to be a better for us to attract the talent that we need.
Good. No, I'm bringing a lot of it up because I think recruiting is one of the biggest challenges we have. And I'm hopeful, I totally hear those points. And I think the opportunity to merge resources and be a stronger recruiter,
much,
is very exciting.
Yeah.
It also provides the opportunity to do a lot more in-house training too, like Chief Bach had said, they're already doing that. We have Tanner that went through firearms training because Officer Eric Lehman left. He was a firearms trainer. But then you have St. Croix Falls officers who are instructors in vehicle dynamics and other stuff. So you can have more staff, have more locations between the two communities, do internal training, which will also save money too.
Yeah.
So,
and the big thing about it is we went through something. We lost a chief and we lost a patrol.
Well, we've had 3 in the last 8 months.
Yep, and another one went to another department. How do you recover that? So if we have a bigger department, those types of things, hopefully they'll slow down because, well, you don't do anything about retirements, but it won't hit you as hard,
Makes sense.
We need board action to set this committee up.
Yeah, I would make a recommendation of a motion to appoint 2 people to the ad hoc committee.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by myself and a second by Neil to establish this ad hoc committee to complete the police department merger. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. motion carries.
I'll be in touch with you soon to figure out a meeting time.
Got that one down, Carrie?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. I know I'm moving kind of quick,
And-
so.
Thank you both for your work on this. I know it's been frustrating with a lot of schedule conflicts
Yeah.
and challenges with trying to do stuff behind the scenes without either their city council or this village board, initially. So you guys have put a lot of work in. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you sitting in the seat a little bit longer than you maybe wanted to, Sue. So
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
there is, there is. Yep.
Yep,
Thanks, y'all.
thank you.
Okay, so 6K, board, commission, committee appointments. Did everybody get a chance to see the chart that was put together by our relentless employee, Carrie? She did a fantastic job spreading the wealth, so to speak.
She did.
Anybody have any issues?
No.
This one was challenging for me to look at, but
Was it really?
she navigated it.
I
With
tried to give everybody
style.
at least 2 of their top 3. I had them all spread out.
Marcia is not here to speak, but I think you were able to accommodate most
Yep.
of what she was looking for too, so.
What page is that?
319.
You can actually scroll up and show the.
Oh, I'm
that's
on
it
it.
there.
There you
So
go.
you- Anything that you've got
I have two
shaded
computers
blue
going.
is what you'll be on. I think you got what you were looking for. You were admin, finance, police and fire, and then I think, is it, the other big one for you is, I think,
Recognition.
no, I think that might have been the only big 2 for you,
And they are supposed to be where you have a few that are
periodic.
regular
Yeah,
and some that you don't need.
that
a
are,
lot.
yeah.
Some
like-
have never met since I've started, so.
Yeah, like the micro loan fund committee, like I
Yeah.
don't think that's
I'm
met since
hoping-
I've been here.
It doesn't.
What is it?
Exactly.
Yeah, most of the loans go through the county because the amounts that so most of the loans have gone through the county, which I sit on that board for the village. So those are done through the EDC at the county level.
So are we gonna be open a spot then on plan? Is that how I see that happening?
Yes. you'll need
Because
it.
Mike is already,
Yeah,
he
so
was
you would-
already on plan before it.
The spot will open. Yep.
You'll have a public,
So we're gonna have to have a public notice for that open position.
or you appoint a public person, either or.
Okay, well, if there's no issues there, we'll move on. So 6L, we're gonna approve.
We got a motion just to approve those.
Oh, yeah, we have resident appointments. So yeah, we need a motion to approve the board.
Board and then the rest.
Yeah, you could do it in one motion.
Yeah, actually, we could do those. Everybody see do you have the other ones too?
Yep.
The public ones? So we got Margaret Bader for ambulance, Dan Lorenz, HPC, and redevelopment. Mark Erickson for microloan fund, and then Dennis Tom Forty and Rob Bullard, both for plan. And then Roxanne Patterson for room tax.
We've talked to all of them, so they're all willing to stay.
Everybody's good? Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve both board and public appointments.
I will make a motion to approve the board commission committee appointments for 24-25, and also the resident commission appointments.
Great, thanks, Van.
I'll second.
Thanks, Arvid. We have a motion by Van and a second by Arvid for those appointments. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Carries. Moving on. 6M, skate park plan.
Yeah, Marcia cannot be here tonight, but she provided great documentation for you in the packet. Last week, she presented this idea the full plan to the planning commission regarding the skate park. The skate park will be built by a private entity, which allows them to choose the vendor of their choice rather than put it out for public bid. At the end of that, there would be a donation to the village for the structure, and they will continue to fundraise for the maintenance of the seal coating process for the skate park itself. I did talk to the attorney regarding building permits. They would need a building permit for the structure as it is a private company or private entity building on village code land. However, you can, if you wish to waive it, and the city then would basically be paying Ben to do the building permit. That would be something that would be allowable. And with that going on, you can see the drawings on the TV here. It is full concrete with a bowl inside of it. It will sit right about there. If you've been in Oki Park recently, you can see the yellow flags of the outline of the structure. And if you look at the outline of the structure, they're currently nowhere near the yellow house. That's why I said we can allow a little bit more time for the movement of the house if need be. There are also trees that will have to be removed in Oki Park to accommodate this structure where it currently is. If you look at the image on the TV too, you can also see where the potential parking lot would be for the skate park and for Oki Park. It would return the current parking spot back to green space. This would be about 60 new parking stalls. Originally, we plan to go class 5 unless we have enough money from the savings in the CIP to pave it. We'd hope to find those savings soon so we can go and try to find some way to get that paved. The idea for that lot would be extra parking for the village fair, winter parking, and a place for the public works to put their excess snow in the winter if need be too. Try to think, have I hit on most everything? That's about all I have. Someone here from the skate park committee is here tonight to answer any questions you have regarding the skate park and the fundraising. They currently have the funding for their $170,000 for the structure, and they are still doing fundraising this summer for additional. This will be built sometime this summer, and we're looking for approval tonight to go ahead and get them here so they can start their building.
And are you with the skate park? Yes. Okay. This is really exciting. So I'm happy. And a lot of people are. You've really done a lot of work. And it's going to be pretty cool watching this come in motion. There's a perpetual fund for maintenance and for like sweeping, sealing and stuff. I read about that. Is there another, is there going to have to be a little outbuilding to keeping like brooms and other tools and supplies on the property? And if so, have you got any ideas about that?
Yeah, Wyatt's also, they're the nonprofit.
Yeah.
So the Main Street, we have storage at Oki Park already. And so we
Okay.
just part of my summer project is to go through that because there's lots of things in there, but we're gonna carve out some space so there would not have to be an additional structure.
Okay.
We want to be good stewards and good partners with the village. So we're really trying to minimize the impact as much as possible.
Absolutely. That's wonderful.
I want to take a moment just to celebrate the fact that we're here. I think that that's a huge deal. And I haven't been nearly as involved, like for the amount of time that the skate park folks have been involved doing this, but it's very cool. And I think it shows the community what can be done when people diligently work together. There's cool stuff that can happen. And I think everyone should feel pretty stinking good about themselves for where we are. So.
And if you can get Tony Hawk to do the ribbon cutting, that'd be awesome.
So the foundation that Tony founded has changed names now. It's a different foundation name now, right? I knows the answer.
So the skate park foundation, and Marcia and I explored applying for them, but their window for this year closed in March. However, we are exploring a couple other foundations to help get us across that 200,000. So we do have a good pool to start with that maintenance fund, so we can go into that for years and years. We really do want to be a steward of the park.
Yeah.
We don't want to cause any extra burden to anybody. So our goal is to go past 200,000 so that we have a large pool of funds to pull on for ongoing maintenance.
Yeah, and the Rad Dad tournament, I'm assuming, is going to continue to be a relatively regular event.
Yes. Yep. And historically,
You haven't signed up yet.
yeah,
I know.
registrations are open, and historically, they've raised 5,000 or so.
And which is almost enough to cover seal coating in and of itself. So,
And we'll continue to have those and other fundraisers.
yeah.
Yeah, so tonight we'll be looking for the approval of the skate park with the license agreement too.
Yeah, so the licensing agreement that's there, so this is essentially just a right to enter. So this is allowing a private entity to conduct construction operations on village-owned property. This is the legal document that was
Yeah.
recommended to us by the village attorney. And this is based on discussion that occurred in the plan commission as we talked about the skate park site plan. I think it was actually Mike that had brought it up. He's like, do we require any legal documentation to initiate this process? I mean, obviously, we don't necessarily need to bill ourselves for any kind of a fee associated with a permit. We can just waive it, but there still needs to be something that provides some level of liability protection with regard to construction, and that's what this is. It's the right to enter. So the board action tonight would be to approve the site plan and enter into this license agreement.
I got a question here. The 15 that we committed to give to the park, did we determine where that's going to go?
No, at this time, there's been no discussion about what that 15 might be or how we might use it, or even if we're going to continue to give it. That'd be something you can explore today is, definitely something in June. I would say when we have a better idea of how much money we've saved in the CIP from the 22 and 23 areas that we could possibly help. We'd at that point too, we'd also know whether or not we're demoing the house or someone's taking the house. So there's still a lot of questions up in the air regarding what the village has to do for this project to go forward, because we're kind of on the hook for the demo of the house if no one wants to take it.
Yeah.
Currently, people are realizing how expensive it is to move a house and to create a foundation for it in the current climate. So I'm not holding my breath on someone's willing to move it. So we might need to be the ones who demo the house. Luckily, there might be some money saved in terms of backfill because they will be digging into the ground where they could use backfill on site.
405 is the address for that house, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just looking at the JNS quote there. We've got 33,000 of exposure between the foundation removal and the parking lot just to get it back to something.
Site, yep.
And then we've got 15 that we agreed to credit, and then the permitting. In theory, that one can argue that's
above and beyond.
It could be part of the 15. It could be separate from the 15, whether we waive it or not.
Well, we gave them the lot too.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other things.
But at the end of the day, it's getting returned back to the village.
Right. So
Yes, it
comes
is.
back.
I voted for the project in planning commission. I think it's great. I just think that there's some more exposure that's there that is still.
The parking lot does not have to happen this year. It's something that we deemed as a possibility, and what the cost might be. I know the skate park and Marsh has also talked about that if they have extra, there's ways for that they could help too. If I'm remembering that conversation correct too. So a lot of it is still some moving parts, but they have the money to start the project. The question for them is what's going to happen to the yellow house on the site right there.
Which is
I made it a point to Drew to make sure that we were appropriately responsible for CIP funding. If we need to move some things around for 25 to get this through the finish line for a parking lot and beautification of the site, then we do that.
That was I had a business owner approach me and was complaining about parking. And you look around town, there isn't a lot of options. That's a big parking lot. Now, granted, it's not downtown, but it's relatively close,
Mhm.
and that's a fair amount of cars. It'd be great to see it happen.
That was one of the things Todd and I were talking about of how great that would be a through. It'd be a through so people can go through and also give you 60 spots and probably 20 in the winter when snow is in there.
But all of this really is separate from the question of approving the skate park to begin construction,
Mhm.
because they can do that independent of whatever else is going on
Yeah,
off to the side.
the parking lot was something that we thought would be a nice feature to it.
Yeah.
It's not skate park and parking lot. It's skate park or, do we have to do it?
Yeah.
And that's where the finding of the funds would be available. Whether we have existing funds from the previous CIP or if they get another generous donation of $50,000 and how much they want to beautify it too.
We'll work on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
Tonight, I'm just looking for the approval of the skate park and the license, the agreement.
and to your point, Mike, I think it's just a matter of when, not if. So,
Yeah.
right. Well, as a 22-year resident of this village, looking back when there used to be a small utility trailer in the Hardee's parking lot
Oh, yeah.
with a sign on it that said cans for skate park.
Anything. Yeah.
I'm blown away by where things are today. So I'd be happy to move that we approve this plan.
I'll second that.
The plan with the license agreement.
Yes.
License agreement, yep. Got that one down, Carrie? Okay, so we have a motion by myself and a second by Van to approve this skate park plan and license agreement. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed, say no. Carries. Go build it.
All right, I need your signature for the license
Go
agreement.
build it. That's,
Bring out the shovels.
make sure you have a
Do we
groundbreaking
have
ceremony.
We can get gold shovels.
I think we need some shovels.
I
we need
think
some
a
gold
gold
shovels.
shovel moment would be very cool.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
I think
Highly
groundbreaking.
Instagrammable moment.
We'll get some
Can you
gold
do some
shovels.
videography that looks like Field of Dreams?
That would be.
Angela, you have some gold shovels in your office?
Mix.
And a spray paint.
A can of spray paint.
Gold spray paint. All right, 6N Okie Park combination.
Yep, planning commission recommended that we combined Okie Park and these two parcels into one big parcel. That way we only have, our park is now one big parcel instead of three.
I'll make that motion.
This one's pretty simple.
Yeah.
A motion by Mike and a second by Ron to merge the parcels to one. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Right.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Carries. All right, 6O, Friedel?
Sure, close enough.
Village land agreement.
Yeah, this was an unfortunate event over on 420 Log Lane. There was an error. The contractor erected a retaining wall or erosion wall that happened to be on village property. There was also no permit that was applied for. To rectify this situation, Planning Commission approved these recommendations last week at their meeting. The building permit penalty, which ordinance is, if you build without a permit, you pay double the fee. This would roughly be about $500 in total. They would pay for the survey of the property line, so they would pay for the increase of what the wall was encroaching onto ours, so that would become their property. So they'd survey the new line. They would pay for any transfer land ownership, and then compensation to the village to buy the land where the wall was erected at market rate. I currently do not know the exact square footage, so I can't put a price to that. So that's one thing, so that you would allow me to, the motion would include this and allow me to figure out what the market rate would be for that roughly 150 square foot, but I don't know the exact number.
We're just looking for a motion to give this as an option, right?
Recommend this option.
Recommend this option if they sign off on it.
Sure.
Well, I'm not, I don't think I'm looking for malice here and intentional that we're just gonna do whatever we want and forget the permits, forget everything. And I don't believe that's the case here. I'm not in,
Speaking from being in the planning commission when they were there, I would agree with that statement. I had made the comment that it was disappointing that the contractor that's been around forever did this, and I was hoping to see him tonight. I don't see him.
yes.
I hope the homeowner works it out with him.
Well, I don't wanna see a building permit fine. I don't wanna see it double.
I would argue otherwise because we got to create some standard, and that's pretty
Well, I
much.
think the standard is that we know we can do it, but we don't have to.
Sure.
We don't have to double, they're gonna pay for enough stuff. You
Sure.
know what I'm saying?
So what happens here is I cannot go after the contractor. I have to go after the property owner. What happens when the property owner and the contractor is a whole civil issue that they can handle themselves. So when it comes to this, though, I have to go to the property owner on this one.
We still don't have dollar amounts though.
I don't know what the market rate's gonna be, but it's gonna be roughly $500 for the linear feet of wall that's on that back wall.
Yeah, we've got a standard and I understand that. Who handled it? It looks like a new build, a new house.
It's GNS.
JNS, and then, you know, how long have you,
We had asked, instead of coming to the village to ask if we needed the permit, we asked the contractor, and our contractor told us, no, we didn't. And we told him approximately where we thought our property line was. He was gonna bring his metal detector and find the pins. And either he didn't find them, or he didn't do that. And then we found out after it was done, that it was, needed a permit and was out of bounds.
Todd and I found the pins in about 2 minutes.
yeah,
I'd be in favor of imposing the penalties as hopefully being passed on to
Yeah,
the contractor.
I don't know. Yeah, we set an ugly standard for waiving things willy-nilly.
maybe.
If that's the argument, then when we have to go back to the skate park and get a permit, because that's a private entity.
We gotta
Well,
get one.
they do have to get a permit.
But we have the choice to waive it.
We can
But if
choose to waive.
Yeah, but I'm
Oh,
saying
no,
though,
no,
is if we're-
no. Here's the deal. This is a little bit different. Even though ignorance of the law is no excuse. However, myself, like to show a little compassion, maybe just the permit, not the fine. You know, the fine, the double, but they'd still be getting the permit, but not double. That's just my opinion. But if I'm only one person, so if we go ahead and do this, I hope that you're, obviously gonna be able to go after whoever to help.
Yeah, that's the plan. Once we figure out what everything is, what they end up costing is all, then we'll have a conversation.
So what is this? How does this? One other. I'm not going to go into this much more, but how does this affect them in the future? For is this something that they're going to be on the radar for not getting permits every time?
Todd and I are looking at application process changes that would require a contractor signature for all building permits.
How would that work when you have the ability to build on your own?
Well, you would spell it out then on your own that
You
yourself.
or the contractor?
Yeah. If you have a contractor, the contractor can just sign off on it. If you're the contractor, you just sign off on it.
That
But if
wouldn't
you don't
help.
get a permit, then you don't have to sign anything.
I said that wouldn't help in this case because they said there's no permit needed. So. And a lot of homeowners will rely on the contractor to whether or not they need one.
Same thing happened last week with a sewer repair. No one applied for a permit with a street right away and sidewalk right away. So we had to go and talk to them about the process.
Who was that contractor?
I don't remember the name. Someone out of Amory.
Yeah, there you go. There's something going on here.
Arrangement something we have elected to do, or is that arrangement out of our control?
We can't control who comes in and starts building without telling us.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is I agree. Like, if I were doing construction, I would look to the contractor to tell me what I need to do, and I'm sympathetic to your point, Van, because I think that it's sucky that you ask the person you've hired to do the work who would know or ought to know what to be done, and you follow what they say because they do construction and you don't, and then this happens. And I hear the point about enforcing the rules. I really do, and so I'm kind of like in this middle point. But it's frustrating to me that we've got people who I think clearly are intending to. The intent is to comply, and they were kind of misinformed by people who should know better.
So usually when a new contractor comes in our community, I get a phone call. And they'll say, do I need a permit for a roof? Do I need a permit for a siding? So a lot of times the contractors will call the village and ask me if they need permits for certain types of builds. So when
I'm
new
a
people,
contractor. I know when to call.
yeah. So a lot of times contractors that never worked in Osceola do call me and ask me if they need a permit for what they're doing.
So then, okay, here's the thing. If you were doing that, they depend on you for that
Yeah,
answer.
I know. Hopefully their contract's good enough they can go back. And there's a certain amount of this that I have some business
ethics behind
Yeah.
that and I've gotten dinged for double permits before,
Yeah.
bad interpretation.
Was Digger's
Just
hotline
deal with
ever
it.
called?
You wouldn't necessarily need.
Just
to for a
curious.
retaining wall.
Just curious.
Or other, because our house hasn't been all, we are, well, I shouldn't say we knew, but, it's been flagged, the yards going through have been flagged before.
Yeah.
And, yeah, there's nothing in the backside.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah. To
Did at
Neil's,
any point you guys dig any of this wall?
Did we know?
yeah, to Neil's point, I mean, the contractor ought to know. And the remedy for the homeowner is to go after the contractor for whatever funds might be imposed. It's a two-step process. We assess the homeowner for what we feel is an appropriate remedy, and then they can go have that conversation with the contractor. But they can't go to the contractor at all until we do our part. And I really think that from a realistic standpoint, a long-standing contractor in the community needs to know when they may have misstepped. And it might not have been the higher ups in the organization. It could have been just hired out to some, person that they just said, this is a small project. It's just a retaining wall. Go out and get this done. And it was just, it was an overlooked item, and that there needs to be some accountability held there. I mean, I know the owner of JNS really well, and I know that he'll want to make this right. So, and I'm totally fine with this remedy that's proposed, and I really hope that they can come to an amenable solution. And ultimately, what's going to end up happening is their lot's going to get a little bit bigger. So they're going to get something out of it.
Yeah, one thing, we did make sure that did not affect the drainage of that, the drainage area through there. So
Yeah.
even though we didn't have a wet winter, we did have that 3 inches of rain in March that we did go out there and look at it.
Yeah, and there was no issue with drainage. So.
Well, and I think too, for homeowners, it's good to pay attention to what permits you might need. So I hear the accountability point. I really do.
Yeah.
I do.
Does this kind of lead to a larger question of code enforcement overall? I mean,
One thing, code enforcement is so far we've been operating on a complaint basis just because of our manpower. We do not have the funds to hire a code enforcement officer. So in order to really get into the code enforcement, we usually rely on citizen complaints to go after it. I don't think we have the police staff to go around looking for.
right. And I'm not even asking about, I guess I'm not really asking about enforcement, somebody going out looking for it. We only have the opportunity here to assess the homeowner. Should our code involve the opportunity to assess the contractor?
That kind of gets at my question around, if I hire a contractor, I think there's an expectation that they know what's going on. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know the implications of that.
It's a larger policy code and discussion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of municipal licensing at that point.
Yeah.
So it should be looked into, probably.
Yep.
But tonight we have to make
Well,
a
and
decision, so.
I guess on that larger question, is this happening a lot? Or is it,
Happens a few-
like,
it
that's
happens
my
a
question.
few times a year out of the
If it-
hundreds of building permits that are applied for. It happens a few times a
Yeah,
year.
there's going to be friction one way
Usually-
or another where people screw up paperwork, and there's going to have to be.
Usually the ones that we've noticed have been retaining walls and fences. Those are usually the two biggest issues that we see.
Yeah, I'm fine with recommending this remedy.
Is that a motion?
But
I can make it if needed, otherwise anybody's welcome to.
I think there is some light at the end of the tunnel on this, but I think, looking at what you're saying, that we do have policies, and I feel bad for the situation, but
Yeah, I don't think there's any malice at the homeowner.
yeah, no, but I would certainly,
And the reason this is before you tonight, not handled internally, because we're looking at transfer of land.
yeah. So I'll make a motion that we go ahead and I guess I'm at a blank of what we're actually making a motion on. What is the name of it? What are we?
The recommendation of staff laid out on this document, if that's what you want.
Right.
It's just those 4 remedies, right? Yep.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to have staff remedy the situation.
Second. We have a motion by Van and a second by myself to recommend that the village administration employ the remedies as listed. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you for hanging around as long as you did. I appreciate it.
Try and get one step closer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Feel free to stop by anytime this week or call.
Okay, so item 6,
Yeah, we did need a survey.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
so item 6P, the August calendar apparently has our village board meeting date slamming up against an election day. Did you just want to move it to the next day, to Wednesday, the 14th?
Wednesday, that's fine by me.
So can we have a motion to move the meeting to the 14th, the next day?
So moved.
Okay. We have a
I'll
motion by
second that.
Neil and a second by Van to move the meeting date to August 14th, Wednesday. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you for that. All right, item 7, future agenda items and updates. We'll start with this side of the room. Marvin.
I had two things. Kind of revisit something I brought up a year ago. Long term, I'd still like to see the post office off of Main Street. Short term, it's been suggested to me that without the drop box in the back, it would be really nice if we had an alternative drop location.
Mhm.
And I wonder about exploring a box out here where we have our little loop. I don't know if that's a kosher thing or not, but
We can reach out to the post office.
Yeah, see what they say and if it
Worst
needs
they
to
can
be a
tell me is
June
no.
item. Yeah, I know that they operate as an independent entity, so, but they are government sponsored. so.
right.
Worst they can tell me is no.
Yeah,
You know what's going on in the Redbird Music Lot?
It was bought by the owner next door. At this time, I have no clue what the plans are for that lot.
Well, they put up a fence and delivered a bunch of bricks, so
Yeah, a bunch of
clearly
bricks
they're
there.
doing
I
something.
wonder if the bricks are maybe for the facing wall, like for the wall on the out, like to line the outside
I
wall.
would assume, but
How it's been approved. It has to
Right.
look exactly what's been approved, otherwise they gotta come back through.
Is there a building permit?
Well, they're not gonna build on it, I don't think. I think it's gonna
Permit for that
remain,
fence?
I think it's gonna remain a patio.
Oh.
And
yeah,
so the
'cause we-
outside wall of the Heritage Center is where the brick is going. I think they're gonna build the outside wall.
open and
do they
have the okay to keep?
I don't know, that's a guess. I don't know, so
The people who bought it are-
speculation.
is the Heritage Center side.
Correct.
Yeah, the building owner of the Heritage Center,
Yeah.
yes.
Is Redbird moved to New Richmond?
Yeah, he signed a lease in Richmond, yeah. Ron, welcome to the board.
Thank you. I have nothing.
Perfect. Dan,
Nothing from me.
Mike, welcome to the board.
Thanks. I missed it. I had a note back on special event permitting in the consent. It referenced the insurance docs being included. One said it'd be here in April, the other didn't have anything. They're out far enough. I'm assuming they'll show back up with them.
We always reserve time for the insurance documents, yes.
For consent agenda.
Yeah, we approved the permitting for it, but they didn't address.
Yeah, usually if the event is next month and they don't have it, I will make a note of it.
As long as you follow up, yeah.
Yeah, as long as there's follow-up to it, we make sure that they have proper documentation for
I felt like I need to be somewhat useful at the first meeting.
it.
That's a good one.
I read most of it.
$2 million worth of insurance you just talked about.
Yeah. Pennies on the dollar. That's all I got.
Okay, Neil?
No, got nothing.
Okay. The only thing I have, again, other than welcoming the 2 new members to the board, thank you, is an issue that was brought up from administration concerning the Braves. Has that been handled yet?
Oh.
No, I'm waiting, if you wanna do a special
I
meeting.
figured I would bring it up at the end of the meeting tonight to talk about that. So it sounds like we missed notification requirements for the picnic license because it needs to be in a
Now we
week
can.
prior.
I have, if we wanna have a special meeting the last week of May to get them their liquor license, we have to approve it today, but I can't get it to the paper until next week, so it would have to be it would be 2 weeks earlier than our other meeting.
Yeah.
If we hold a special meeting to approve their liquor license.
Considering how great that entity is in town, I'd be happy to show up for a special meeting.
And I know that they have a home game this Sunday, but that might not work, so.
I couldn't, we would have needed to know, I would have needed to know last week if we wanted to do
Right.
it next week or this week.
Right, so,
I'm all for it.
Okay.
Whatever it takes.
so I would say go ahead and get the notice going.
Okay.
And then let's go ahead and plan on meeting sometime next week. And we only need 4 of us to complete this, so.
How many pages would the agenda be?
It'd be like a 4-page agenda, don't worry.
I worked it out. It's about $4 a page is what you got paid for the current one.
Okay.
Plus you get extra pay and.
All right, I'll email everybody with the proposed date. It's probably gonna be something where we just dip in at 5:30, 5 minutes in and out.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Good catch.
All right, we are adjourned, 8:25 PM.
That's it. That was a